Welcome, Goons and Gals, to today's video on the best small adventure bikes to own. Now, before we start, let's not be discouraged with the word small. Being cast into the land of smallness is not a sign of weakness. In fact, big things come in small packages. Some of the very best times I've ever had on a motorcycle were on my little DRZ 110 pit bike. Bless her heart. As Shakespeare once said, though she be but little, she is fierce. So do not be fooled by the small CCs of the motorcycles on this list. These bikes are fierce, pack a pint-sized punch regardless if you're a long-time rider or a first-time noob. Small motorcycles are fun, fuel efficient, easy to maintain, and cheap to insure. But before we start, let's set some rules. And I know you hate rules, but Goons, we live in a world that has top lists, and those top lists have to be guarded with rules. I mean, who's gonna do it? You YouTube viewers? Because what you don't know is these silly lists, no matter how insignificant, require far more effort than you can possibly fathom. And though my lists, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, help people make more informed purchasing decisions, I neither have the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a video audience who rises and sleeps under the blanket of my top list I provide, then questions the very manner in which I provide them. Where have I heard that before? So anyway, I decided to limit this list to motorcycles under 500 cc's that are relatively lightweight, low cost, and have some form of wind protection and provide a decent balance between both street and off-road use. Now this leaves out some pretty sweet dual sports like the KLX 300, DRZ 400, WR 250, and CRF 450, but I feel those deserve their very own video, so check back with the channel soon to see if that's up. In no particular order, let's begin with the Honda CB500X. And I will tell you this is the largest displacement motorcycle on this list and one of the heaviest. But that's also going to make it very stable and well planted on the highway. And the larger displacement of the engine will make it much less buzzier than some of the other models we mentioned here today and give you the smoothest ride on the highway. The Honda boasts a 50 horsepower, 30 foot-pounds of torque, silky smooth twin engine. So if your goal is to mainly do street work, this one would suit you best, because there's plenty of power to tote you around, some extra gear if necessary, and even a passenger if you want to take one of those. The seat height is a non-intimidating 32.8 inches, has a generous 4.7 gallon gas tank, should give you close to 300 miles between fill-ups, and the bike comes standard with a slipper clutch. This will make shifting a breeze when you're hustling through the canyons. The Honda CB500X has a 19-inch front with a 17-inch rear combo. This combination will get you through most situations. However, if your primary goal is to do some off-roading, you're going to have some limitations with this 19-inch front tire. Not only that, but this Honda comes with cast wheels. Now, there are a few aftermarket manufacturers that make wire wheel sets for this if you want to take it off-road. But I think when you combine the cost of that upgrade plus the cost of the bike, you'd be better off buying a motorcycle that's purposely built for that activity. Because even with the tire upgrade, you're not going to be able to get around that 5.9 inches of travel. It's difficult to mention prices in this post-COVID world, as every area is different. But currently, Honda has this motorcycle listed at $69.99. The best part about this motorcycle is it's a Honda, and you're going to need to do something on purpose to stop it from running. So if you're the kind of rider that just wants to put gas in the tank and ride something to death, you can't go wrong with a Honda. I mean, after all, the Beach Boys sang a song about a Honda. Not a Kawasaki, not a Suzuki, but a Honda. Next up on the list is the BMW 310 GS. The 310 GS is a mini-me version of the Titanic BMW 1200 GS. And isn't that bike so cute, like its big brother? They're all little and stuff. Anyway, the 310 GS shares much of the same platform as the G310R Roadster, so the engine's good enough to move you around quickly and confidently, even if it's off-road. The 310 GS has a respectable 34 horsepower with 21 foot-pounds of torque, a low 32.9-inch seat height, and although the tank is much smaller than the Honda's at just 3 gallons, you should still be able to get close to 200 miles between fill-ups. Just like the Honda, the BMW comes with a silky smooth slipper clutch for effortless shifting, but it also has the same 19-inch front and 17-inch rear tire combination with cast rims. So just like the Honda, if your intention is to do some serious off-roading, you're going to have to look elsewhere, even though the bike has a respectable 7.1 inches of travel. The BMW retails for $50,50. which is an interesting price combination considering it is somewhat of a 50-50 bike. But the beauty about this BMW is it's a premium looking motorcycle without a premium price tag. The 310 GS is almost a carbon copy of the more expensive BMW models. So from a distance, the untrained eye would think you're probably cruising around on a $17,000 Beamer. But just because the price is low doesn't mean it's cheap. This bike comes with some pretty good components, and it's a great value. I really like the looks of this BMW, and maybe James Bond wouldn't get caught dead riding this thing, but I would. Next up, we have the Royal Enfield Himalayan. Royal Enfield's slogan is built for all roads, built for no roads. And this bike's unique old world charm and burly looks has made it a choice for those seeking to do just that. I mean, if Indiana Jones had to pick out a motorcycle to ride, I somehow think he would pick out this Himalayan. The thing just looks adventurous. Although somewhat of a cool bike aesthetically, the Himalayan is one of the most underpowered on this list, with only 24.3 horsepower, but 23.6 foot-pounds of torque. The seat height is one of the lowest on the list at just 31.5 inches. So for the vertically challenged out there, this bike won't be that intimidating. It does have a respectable 4-gallon gas tank, which should get you close to 250 miles between fill-ups. However, unlike the motorcycles we've mentioned on this list previously, the Himalayan actually has a 21-inch front with a 17-inch rear. You also see that these tires are wire-wheeled. This is going to make the Himalayan a little bit better off-road. Now with the old-world looks and old-world charm of the Himalayan, you come with some old-world components. Even though the Himalayan has disc brakes on the front, many riders say they stop like drum brakes. And the Himalayan doesn't have a sophisticated TFT display like many of the other models on this list. But how can we fault the Himalayan? I mean, I think that's what they're going for, is that old-world analog dash look. And it works. But in the Himalayan's case, although she be but little, she be porky. This is certainly one of the heaviest bikes on this list. But don't let that fool you. The best part about this bike is its tractor-like power. This thing just wants to keep on chugging along. How adorable. But the worst part about this bike is that it is a tractor. And if you're looking to get somewhere in a hurry, maybe you should look elsewhere. Owning a Himalayan makes you want to put on a flannel shirt and grow a really long beard and just ride across the world. And there's not too many motorcycles that possess you to do such. And Himalayan owners, well, they're a culty bunch. I mean, say something bad about this bike. I dare you. I double dog dare you. You're going to get smoked. All in all, this is a sweet, low-cost, durable workhorse of a motorcycle. You can't go wrong on this one. How about we stick with the old theme and move into our next candidate, which is the Kawasaki Versus 300. And when I say old, I don't know the last time Kawasaki updated this model. Now that's awesome if you bought one 5 or 6 years ago and it still looks new, but if you buy one now, it still looks like an old one. But don't let that discourage you, because nobody milks a motorcycle model as long as Kawasaki. Maybe Suzuki, but those two are close. Anyway, the Versus shares the same engine from the Ninja 300, which is a sweet motorcycle in itself. The Versus 300 has some pretty respectable numbers on paper. 40 horsepower, 19 foot-pounds of torque, not bad. 32-inch seat height, not bad as well, with a 4.5-gallon gas tank. So you have some pretty good power being made out of this motorcycle, and with the larger tank you have extended range, much on par with the Honda earlier. And even though the Versus is using the ever so popular 19-inch front with a 17-inch rear tire combination, the Versus has wired wheels. This is a much better option for those that want to do a little bit of light off-roading. Even though it has the 19-17 tire combination, the wire wheels are a little stronger and a lot more durable. And from an aesthetic point, it just looks more adventurous. The drawback with the Versus is obviously the bike design is long in the tooth. I don't know how many years this model has been running, but I think it's the same exact version, or very close to the same version, when this bike was initially released in 2017. Therefore, it has an ancient dash, but unlike the Royal Enfield, which is kind of using that on purpose to match the aesthetics of the motorcycle, Kawasaki's just being lazy. And most of the reviews out there complain about its buzzy motor at highway speeds. Now, I can't vouch for that. It seems to be a common thing through message boards around the internet, and you know, everything on the internet is true, but I've never ridden one, so I can't tell you if that's true or not. But there is something I can vouch for, having owned several Kawasaki's over the last few decades, and that's reliability. I don't ever remember working on any Kawasaki I've ever owned, so I'm guessing that this Kawasaki Versus 300 is about as bulletproof as a Honda. And if I could go back in time, I might write a song called Little Kawasaki. It's not a big motorcycle, just a groovy little motorbike. The fact that Kawasaki hasn't changed this bike since the beginning is a testament to just how good it really is. As the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now it is time for the KTM 390 Adventure. KTM is the wild child of motorcycle manufacturers. KTM is your favorite beer-drinking bro that shows up at the party, swallows the entire keg of beer, then smashes it over his head, then rips off all of his clothes and runs down the street naked. Because everything KTM builds is with intensity, and it's the intent to dominate every performance category in the segment that they enter, and the 390 Adventure is no different. So if you're all about high performance, then stop this video right now and go to your local KTM dealer. The 390 Adventure has a whopping 44 horsepower with 27 foot-pounds of torque. But the 390 is a tall bike with a staggering 33.7-inch seat height. The 3.8-gallon gas tank is enough to get you from point A to point B in style. And the KTM also comes with a slipper clutch. For such a small bike, it comes with a host of rider modes, much of which it shares with its bigger brother, the 890 Adventure R, like cornering ABS, lean angle sensitive traction control, and a high-tech TFT display with rider modes. The downside of this bike is they went with the infamous 19-inch front, 17-inch rear tire combination with the cast rims. I remember when this bike first came out, we thought we were going to be treated to an R version where we had a 21-inch front and a 17-inch rear tire combination with wire wheels. Well, that didn't happen, and a few years later, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, there's a lot of YouTubers out there that have put a set of aggressive knobbies on there, and even Chris Birch is doing some silly stunts on this thing, so it's beyond capable for anything that us mere mortals want to use it for. I personally love the aggressive looks of this KTM. And in person, it's much larger than it looks. And for a small single-cylinder engine, this thing is raw. And for a little bike, it doesn't feel that little when you're riding it. It's quite a potent machine. So if your goal is to get down to business, head on down to your local KTM shop. They'll take good care of you. As the saying goes, save the best for last. And I might have just done that here with this little gem, the Honda CRF 300L Rally. Unlike the other motorcycles on the list, the Honda here is not masking any of its intentions. This is a dirt bike. And if you're looking for that bike that can just get you to the trail, then you can go goon crazy, I think this is your choice. And I say that with sincerity because with only 27.3 horsepower and 19 foot-pounds of torque, it's gonna be a long ride to that trail. But boy, when you get there, that's another story. The 300L Rally is a pretty tall bike with a 34.8-inch seat height. So if you're a shorter rider, you might feel a little intimidated, or you might be riding around on your tippy toes. But you do have pretty good fuel range with the 3.5-gallon gas tank. Just like the Himalayan, it has a 21-inch front, but it has an 18-inch rear. But this is not a surprise. This bike is intended to take off-road. The downfall of this bike will obviously be the power plant. It's a slow bike and a buzzy bike on the freeway. But everything in life is a compromise. And if your intent is to do a lot of trail riding and off-road riding, you don't have a better option on this list than this bike right here. I personally love the looks of this motorcycle. It really shares a lot of its DNA with its older brother, the CRF 450. And I think many of us out there are waiting for them to actually put the 450 engine in this chassis package. But just like the KTM, looks like we're going to be waiting for a little bit longer. The Honda 300L Rally is an amazing little motorcycle. It would make a great first-time bike or a nice little second bike to put around town and hit some small trails with. You truly could get into a lot of shenanigans with this motorcycle. And that's what it's all about. And just like I said previously with the Honda CB500, this is a Honda. And Hondas last forever, cause it's a cool little motorbike. In my opinion, if I had to choose, I would go for the KTM 390 Adventure. I've always had this silly dream that I was gonna buy this bike and put a 21-inch front on it with an 18-inch rear, jack it up, put a big beefy suspension system and go crazy on this thing. But that's not gonna happen. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of that, like the pit bike craze we go through with the CRF 50s and 110s. So that's gonna do it for today's list. But Goons and Gals, let me know what you think. What is your favorite bike on this list? What bike did I not put on this list? What would you like to be seen on? And until next time, you take care. Born a goon, born a goon, born a goon.